Yeah, so I mean, the short story is, I've always been interested in real estate. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was in college or shortly after college, and that concept of, the four quadrants and kind of moving over to more of being an investor or business owner always made a ton of sense for me, but didn't quite know how to start, right? So, like most people, went through after graduating, kind of got a corporate job, worked in marketing, worked for an advertising agency. Actually got hired by my client, which was General Motors at the time. So I was there for a few years, and it happened to be the time that coincided with the last recession. So I went through a lot of stuff there, but for me, it was scary. And obviously, being a younger person in my career, didn't fully have the context that maybe some of my colleagues had who had invested 20, 30 years into this company just to be let go, and not really have other options as far as what they were going to do. So my big takeaway was, I didn't want to commit to a company, no matter how good of a company it was. I didn't want to commit my career, my life to it, only to have them decide my fate down the road. So, for me at that moment, part of what I want to do is open up my options and figure out how else can I create income that can replace my salary, and it can do it over time. So it's not a huge rush, but I never wanted to wake up 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, where someone else is telling me they no longer need me and I don't really have my backup plan or any other options in place. So at that moment, I really started to look more into real estate. I moved to Chicago in 2011 and working for an advertising agency. And then at that time, I started investing kind of on the side. So I started with the duplex. We house hacked, lived in one unit, rented out the other unit, and that worked extremely well. From there, we bought a 3 unit building, about an 8 unit building, and 2 years later, and then got into a couple flip projects. But ultimately, what became really clear was all of my money was tied up into the properties that we had. So I wasn't, while we had some cash flow coming in, I had a lot of equity in these properties, and it started to make sense to say, well, how else can we build this where I'm not saving such large sums of money to invest, but actually partnering with others? Because other people were coming to me saying, dude, I would love to, buy some properties and do what you're doing. I just don't know how, or I don't have the time to do it, or I don't want to be a landlord. So at that moment, it's kind of clicked to say, well, listen, I kind of have a need. You guys have a need. We actually can mesh and help each other. Why don't we start partnering together, working with these investors to buy these properties? It gives us more flexibility to go out and really focus in on this. And since then, we focus more on acquiring larger properties that give us more cash flow as well as more upside potential.